Hello everybody, it's me and this is the second video related to CloudKit. Now we're gonna start actually using CloudKit. So I've created a start project, so you can download this project from the website, and it's going to be called CloudKit Start. Okay, so you can download it from the link listed in the YouTube channel. All right, let's take a look at this project before we get started. We have a storyboard. In the storyboard, we have one view controller, similar to the CloudKit example that I've done before. We have information about a store, we have a map view, and then we have an image. We have two buttons, save and search. The save will save it to the CloudKit, and the search will find information from the CloudKit and then display it on this view controller. All right, and I didn't create labels. Maybe I should do here placeholder so it's more descriptive. So it says this is store name. Okay, and this should say store description. Okay. All right. Now, if you look at the view controller, I have all the outlet connected, and this is what you should get when you download the start project. And then you have all the outlet connected to the text field, the map view, and the image. We have the two actions, save and find. We have hide keyboard, which is when you click on the map, if you click on the view anywhere, hit the background or on the view, then you will resign all the responders. And then we have a function that when you press on the map, we will add a long. It has a long gesture. When you click on it, it will actually call this function, and then we will add a pin to the map view. Now we've done this before. All right, so this is just a background of what your project looks like. Okay, why are we doing this? Because we will save the location in the CloudKit. Okay, so let's take a look at the project and enable it to use the CloudKit. What happens in the capabilities, you can select enable CloudKit by just switching it on. Now, if you're a member of the developer program, you should, and you have it set up already, then you select it from here. If you don't have it, you just go to preferences, and then you go to the accounts and add it in here. Okay, so go back to the CloudKit, enable it, and then you click choose. This is my account. Hit OK, and then it should be in a minute. Everything checked out. I'm going to use key value storage and the CloudKit. Okay. And by doing this, it'll add the CloudKit entitlements in your project. All right, so everything checks okay. So now I have the CloudKit entitlement, enabled my project. That's all you have to do. Now to look at the CloudKit, you can design your database on the CloudKit dashboard, which is you just simply click on it, and it's not going to work here. So I'm going to open it in Safari to show you what it looks like in Safari. So I have the CloudKit here, and let's talk about the sorry, we have the dashboard here. Let's talk about the dashboard for a minute. First, on the left-hand side, you can select your app. All right. Now, if I refresh this, I should see the app that I just created a minute ago. And we're waiting. Maybe I'll pause for a minute. Okay, it took a little bit, but now remember we created a project. If you remember, the project name was CloudKit Video 2. So now if you look at it here, after the dashboard opens up, when you sign in with your account, here's your applications. Those are your apps that uses CloudKit. On one of them, when we just created CloudKit Video. Now if you click on it, now you're looking at the data that it pertained to that CloudKit or to that app. You get the users, all the users that actually download your app. Security roles, we don't have any securities. Subscription types, we don't have subscription yet. Later on, we will do that, hopefully, in one of the videos. But here's the schemas, and here is your data, public data, and here your private data if you have private data. And the private data, I can't look at private data because if a user install if a user save data for privately, of course I shouldn't be able to look at them because this is their own, right? So I shouldn't be able to look at those private data, but I could look at mine if I have my own private data. Okay. If you look at the record types, what is a record type? Record type is really just a database file. Okay. So if you want to create one, all you have to do is just click on this and then say store. Stores, whatever you want to call it, right? And then you can start adding fields. So if we have store description, store name, for example. Okay, and the type is string. So you can click on add. You can add another one, store description. Okay, hit enter, and it's a string. And then we add another one. Here is the way we're talking about the location. So instead of this, I'm going to do store location. And the type of this is different. Now the type is location. You see that? Now we haven't used this before, but this is with the CloudKit, you can do that. So now you click on location. And you can add one more field for the image. So I'm going to say, in the past we used to put image URL, but you don't have to put image URL here. You can actually store it using what we call store image. And then we have something called asset. You see that? Which would be an image data. All right. Okay, now if I click on save, if you remember, if you add one by mistake, for example, you can't do save until you delete it. So you delete it first, and then you can do save. You do save. So that is my data here. All right, now let's take a look at the that is my schema, if you will. So, all right, so this is my schema. Now, I could have done this within the program itself, or it's better to do it this way, so you at least think about your app before you start doing it, all right? Now, if you go to if you want to look at the data, here you go to the usage, and here's my record store. Default zone, this is your public database, and there is no record. So all you do is that if you want to add a record, so you can say add a record, and then here you can add, this is your record ID. All right, this is important later on. If you're using references, this is the record ID that you will use. Okay, but we're not going to do that. Okay, we'll do it from the application itself. Okay, so that is the dashboard. Okay, there's a lot more, but this is what we're interested in at the beginning. Okay, let's go to our application. And let's take a look at the save button at the beginning. Here's the view controller. And let's take a look at the save button. Before we do this, we need to import the CloudKit. So you say import CloudKit. Hit enter. We need to define a variable because it's going to be used in throughout your application. We're going to define a variable that references the public database. So we're going to say let db or public database equal to what? equal to CK. The CK is the cloud kit. Okay, it's a short for the cloud kit. And then one of them is you need to reference the container first. That's, remember, every app gets a container, and in that container you have the databases. Now we want to get the default container, and inside the default container we have the public database. All right. So now we have a reference to the public database in the cloud kit. Okay. The next thing we need to do is that we want to go to the save button, and in the save we want to do a few things. Let's do this first just to show you that it is working. Let's add an activity indicator in the main storyboard. Let's go to the main storyboard. Just add an activity indicator here showing that it is actually progressing, and when it stops, the activity indicator disappears. So we have something called, if you search for activity indicator, and then you'll just put it wherever you want to put it. Now, usually it's on the, and if we have a navigation controller, but right now I'm just going to leave it here just to show it. Large white. Of course, you can't see it white, so we're going to change the tint color to green, so you see it's actually working. And then we want to take this activity indicator and set a few things. We want to animate it, so it's actually moving. And at the beginning, it's not animating. And then we want to, when it's done, you can hide it when it's done if you want, or you can leave it. When you say it's hidden, that means when stop animating, it's gone. All right. But when it's animating, it shows up again. And I'm going to add an outlet to this, so we can reference it into our application. Here is the, and I'm going to call that activity indicator. All right, connect. Okay, let's go back to the main view, to the view controller here, and then in the view controller, we now go to the save button. In the save button, first we want to create a record with the name of that file that we created in the dashboard. So you can say let store equal CK record. And then what do you pass to this record? You pass to it, there are two ways, or actually three ways. One of them is just the record type, which is the name of the database table that we've created in the dashboard. One of them is that you can pass to it the record type and the record ID. So the record ID, you can create a record ID first, and that record ID can be used as a reference. For now, all we're doing is that we're just creating it with the record type. And the record type, if you remember from the dashboard, if we don't remember, let's just make sure it is correct. We go to the Safari. And what was the name? Stores. So we will use that. And then we will put stores for the record ID. Okay. After you create the record, then you can set objects. Okay. How do you set the objects? Let's say set objects by, say set store dot set object. What object? Now the objects comes from the, if you go back to the store, to Safari, store has fields. If you look at the record types, and stores have field. One of them is store description, store, we have store name, description, image, and location. For now, I'm going to do the description and the name. We leave those blank, and then we'll do it in the next video, the other two parts. Okay. So how do we do this? If you go to, I need to remember these names, description and names. Okay, so we'll go to the database, we go back to the save. For the value is going to come from where? It's going to come from txt, name, dot text. Okay, and for the key is store name. Okay, and then you do the same thing, store dot set object, and again for the key txt description dot text, and then for the object for the key it is the store description. Okay, let's make sure this is working first, right? And the next thing we need to do is that we need to save the record. And this is very similar to core data. It's very similar to JSON. When you're fetching record from a server, you actually execute command and you need to monitor for completion. So when it's completed, then you can get two possibilities, either an error or completion with no error. So before we do this, we're going to remember that activity indicator. I'm going to say activity indicator start animating, okay? And that would make it turn, and it's working. Now here's we're going to do the, remember the public database we've created above? So we say public database dot save record. What record we're going to save? We're going to save the record that we've created, which is what? We've created the record store. So you click on store, completion handler. Okay, just if you double click on this, here's the completion handler, and then here is your saved record. This will give you back the record that you saved. Okay, and that contains your record ID, by the way. And then if we have an error, we call that an error. Okay. All right, now in the code, we need to check. If we don't have an error, then we're fine, right? If we have an error, then we need to do something about it. So if error does not equal to nil, what does that mean? It means that we actually got an error, right? That means our application did not work. Okay, else we have a problem and our application error. I mean, we don't have a problem and everything worked fine. For now, just for simplicity, I'm going to do print application or error saving data on the iCloud, right? Now, of course, you can do a lot more than this. You can put alert, action, controller, and show proper messages. You can put a label, whatever you want to do, right? But for now, just do this. Now, otherwise, everything is fine. So command copy, command V, and then you say it worked, right? It worked, and hooray. All right. Maybe it's helpful to look at that error, see what is the error looks like. So I'm just going to add to it the error debug description, that will give me what is the error about. All right. We have one more thing to do, which is we want to animate. We want to stop animating the that activity indicator. Now, to do this, you need to do it in the main queue, because what happens is that this is happening in the background, and you need to access. You want to do something on the main queue, so we need to do dispatch async, and the async queue is what is the queue? The queue is actually dispatch get a main queue. That's your main queue. You can do it this way if you want to, and then you put the block that you want to execute. All right. What do we want to do in this code? We want to stop animating the activity indicator. So you say activity indicator stop animating. All right. So that would disappear. Make it disappear. Let's see. What do we have here? We got an error. Because it is in a block, we have to say self, right? Self dot activity indicator. All right. Now let's hope that it all works. So let's run it and see what happens. Oh, let me tell you one thing before we do this. I'm going to use a different device to show you the error, right? What happens, but I'll tell you what you need to do, and then I don't want to show you my credentials. So what you need to do when you run it, you need on the simulator to enter your iCloud credentials. So as we're waiting for the app to show up here in the simulator, all right, this is your application. Let's say if I click on debug home, hardware, and click on the home button. For your application to work, you need to go to the settings, and then you need to go to the cloud, and you need to enter the credential for your cloud. Otherwise, it will not work on the simulator. The same thing that happens on the device. Okay. We go back, run it again, and let's test it. Okay. Whatever. Store. Great store. Fraud. I don't know what that means. Great store. Okay. Frank. And anything for the description, right? Now if you click here, that should disappear. And now if I click on save, that activity indicator showing, and it worked. Hooray. You see that? Now if I go to the dashboard, hopefully the record is there, right? If you go, this is your dashboard. If you look at the default public data default zone, that's that default container, and that is your record. So it worked. And in the next video, I'll show you how we store the images and how we store the location. All right, I will see you on the next video.